All right, everyone, welcome back to the Daddy Show. We are here yet again with the 2013 Nissan Altima, and this time we're changing the right front brake line. I changed the caliper on the left front. So on the left front, the brakes were locking up on me. I actually had smoke coming out, not a good thing. And so I replaced the caliper thinking that was the issue, and after taking the old one off, realizing it wasn't in terrible shape, but not great, it has 174,000 miles on it. I went ahead and replaced it anyway, knew it couldn't hurt, thought it would fix the issue. It actually didn't. So if you've replaced calipers and you're still having brake issues, this might be the video for you. Now, what fixed the problem was the brake line. So I'm going to go into showing you how to fix the brake line on the right front. It's not broken or anything, but I'm going to replace it since I replaced the other side and they have the same mileage on them. I figured this side's just a matter of time, so I'm going to replace it at the same time. So I'm going to show you how I did that on that left side. It'll be the same thing on the right side. So if you have replaced your brake caliper, your brakes are still either locking up or not releasing or having issues, take your brake line off the back of the caliper on the side that's having the issue and see if brake fluid drips out. If no brake fluid drips out, there's a high probability that your brake line is the issue and not the caliper. So hopefully that helps. If you're having issues with your brakes or you've changed the caliper and it's still having issues, check the brake line, especially if you got some higher mileage. And yeah, so that's it. So without further ado, let's get to it.
Some men rise, some men fall. Some help others to reach the top, while others stand watch. Who are we? We are the risk takers. We are the fighters, the regular everyday men, the downtrodden and the uprisen. And this is the Daddy Show.
All right, sorry about the bright sunlight behind me. When you're doing anything where you're going to be raising a car up in the air, please chalk the wheels. And so I'm going to be working on the right front, so I've chalked the wheel at the right rear with a 2x4, and you can use, basically any chunk of wood you got, or something else. You can use ramps. If you have ramps, turn the ramps around backwards, put them at the back of the tire facing this way so that it tries to roll up the ramp. You can do that if you need, but yeah, just a little block of wood will work great. I like to leave a little bit sticking out right here. We got this 2x4 coming out to here, so that way if the car rolls backwards onto that piece of wood, I just come over and kick it with my heel. That'll knock it out for you. So little helpful tip there if you have issues getting your chocks out from under the wheel or out from under your tire. And yeah, so I'm gonna get the front end raised up. We'll go from there. All right, here we are sitting on the ground. So I've got the floor jack ready to go. Now these new cars, they aren't like the old cars where you can just put it up underneath anywhere on the side of the car and hit a frame rail. They don't have frame rails because they're unibodies. So you have to hit it in a certain spot. I'm gonna try to get that for you with this camera. I don't know if I'll be able to do it very well because of the size of this camera versus the space I've got with the little Joby tripod I've got on here, but we'll see what I can do. But generally there's a spot. It's hard to do this this way. All right, so generally there's a spot just a little ways back from the front tire. So this is the front of the car is that way, and back here usually just a few inches back from the wheel well. So I got the edge of the wheel well here, and right around in here is where the lift point is, and you can usually identify it on most cars now. They have a little piece of metal that's folded over and it's sticking down like this. There we go, sticking down like this. And your factory jacks that are in the trunk for when you need to change your spare on the side of the road, they have a shape like this, and they go up and they click right on that and they push the car up. So basically I have to get on that with this jack and make that work with this floor jack. So you have to make sure you hit right on that. I'm sure you've seen videos on YouTube, people that have them too far back or too far out towards the outside of the car. So out over here instead of underneath, because this is where that little rail is right here. And this is the outside of the car. So we're talking, a distance of that. So if you get your jack too far out to the outside of the car, you're gonna end up jacking the unibody up into the door frame. And that's not good. So, or your kick panel even. And most of these kick panels are just a piece of plastic hanging on the car. Some of them are metal. It's kind of all over the board, but you don't want to jack that up. You don't want to screw anything up. So make sure you're putting it in the right spot. And if you don't know what you're doing, take it to a mechanic. If you don't fully know what you're doing, but you think you can make it happen, look at the owner's manual. It should show you where to do all that. And again, if you still don't know, take it to somebody who does. Don't mess your car up. All right, here we go. So let me see. I apologize, the sound's gonna get kind of bad here because of the direction of my microphone. It is a directional shotgun microphone. Hopefully you're getting enough reflection off the car itself. But let me see if I can bend this here. Okay. I'm gonna have to flip you upside down, so I'm sorry to those who are sensitive to that. All right, looks like it's focusing pretty well here. Nice, it is. All right, so this is the rail I'm talking about right here. And you can actually see there's a indentation here from where my jack has been before. So it did fold this edge a little bit. That's not great, but it is what it is. But that's where you want to lift up at, is right here with your factory jack. And this car actually doesn't have one. It never came with one. So whoever bought this car originally took it out and left it out because they're a knucklehead. But we won't go there. So I just bring this jack on up to it. And since I've already folded it once, I just line it back up at that same spot. There we go. And make contact. And so what... excuse me. There we go. Know what I'm saying? Excuse me to the car. All right. So now what I do, and if you watch the car, I usually crank it a couple of times and just take the weight off of the tire without lifting the tire off the ground. There we go. I do that just so I can make sure that I'm not loosening the lug nuts with too much pressure on the lug studs. So once I get them hand loosened, then I will be able to raise it up off the ground. Man, my voice today. My voice is not happy with me today for some reason. Once I get them loosened by hand, then I can raise the car up in the air, get the tire off the ground, loosen them the rest of the way, take them off, and then take the wheel off. So that's what we're gonna do. I'll show you a neat trick on ways to, what to do with your wheel to make sure that if your car does fall down off your jack or jack stand, that you have the ability to get the jack back under the car to get it back up in the air again. So I'll show you that neat little trick. Now, since I'm using aluminum wheels, I'll go over this when I put the wheel back on, but you never want to use a impact gun to put the lug nuts on aluminum wheels. You always want to use a torque wrench to get them torqued correctly and evenly. And you want to check them a couple of times after every few hundred miles to make sure that they're staying seated correctly. So that's a little trick with aluminum wheels as well. I think that's it. That's all I got for now. See you in just a second. I'd love to use, for loosening lug nuts, I love to use a breakover bar. It has a swivel head piece on it here. And of course it's not going to focus, but this piece swivels back and forth. This gives you lots of nice leverage. Great for loosening lug nuts. And this is a 19 millimeter lug nut. There we go, I got it loosened. That's all I need to do is just loosen them. Come on, let go of my ego. Sometimes you gotta coax them a little bit. Hey, somebody put these on way too tight. So when you're looking for a good shop, especially if you've got aluminum wheels, find a shop that puts your lug nuts on with a torque wrench and not with an impact gun. It's never good. It's always too tight. Yeah, tip number 74. All right, back at it. Now I'm gonna raise the car the rest of the way up in the air, get that tire off the ground, loosen them up all the way, take the lug nuts out, and then show you my trick with the tire. And now, because I am going to be working with my legs and stuff under the car, I am going to raise this up pretty high so I can get a jack stand underneath it, so I can make sure that this thing doesn't fall on me. And when putting a jack stand under a car, I like to try to do it with my whole body out from under the car, and with no way to be able to pinch myself underneath it. Like, I'm not gonna stick my hand under this way, and I'm not gonna go through the jack or anything like that. So in this case, even though I want the jack back or the stand pretty far back, I'm gonna come at it from the front so I can come in with my arm in a way that if the car did fall or the jack failed for some reason, the tire is gonna catch the car, and I'm gonna be able to crawl out the front a lot easier than be able to crawl out the side. So that's why I'm doing it this way. When I put jack stands under the car, I try to put it with this handle here in whatever direction I think is going to be easiest for me to get it out later. So if I have to raise this up, all I got to do is flip that and wherever it's easiest to get to, and then I can get it out easier. So in this case, it doesn't really matter. It's going to work either way, forward, backwards, it doesn't matter. Since I'm going to have the jack there, it's probably going to be easiest from the front, so I'll probably face it that way. Okay. All right, so when you're putting a jack stand under your car, the places to look for, obviously looking for a frame rail. And I love these Nissans. These things are stiff. A good way to know that you haven't totally stressed your unibody too much, if you raise the front off the ground and the rear comes off with it, it's a pretty stiff chassis. It's not too bad. Little Nissans are great in that respect. I've got to move that wheel chock now. It's the other side. So remember that next time. Tip number 75 on a Nissan Altima: put the wheel chocks on the other side. So, tip for the jack stand: find a frame rail, which these have a front stub, so they have somewhat of a frame system underneath the front, and I'm calling it the front stub. Don't know what the real term is, what most mechanics are going to call it. You can burn me up in the comments if you want. It's fine with me. But a suspension connection point is usually the best. Sorry, I'm messing with my hat a lot. This hat, I don't like this hat. It's not very comfortable. It doesn't show my face very well. It looks funny on the sides, but it's dirty, and I can touch it with oily hands and not care, so that's why I have it on. Now, they're not gonna be oily, they're gonna be nasty with brake dust. Anyway, try to find a suspension connection point. So where I'm connecting this, where I've put this jack stand is right underneath one of the connection points of the lower A arm. That's gonna be one of your strongest points. So that's where I've got it right now. So there's two connection points on the A arm. There's another point where the body connects to that front stub, what I'm calling the front stub. That's another good strong point that'll hold the weight. So those are good options. So anyway, let me show you where I put this one, and then I'll put the car on it, and we'll go from there. All right. Come with me. Alrighty, so. No, that's weird. That's really weird. Alright. So, here I am laying down, obviously. Alright, so under the car here, you can see the jack stand there. And I can't see my screen, so I don't know what I'm doing. Flying blind here. Alright, there we go. Alright. So, I'm gonna have to turn you sideways again. I am so sorry. Alright, so this right here, there we go. This right here is that one of those frame rails I'm talking about on that front stub that connects in with the unibody back there a little ways. And then you can see it comes across right here, goes underneath that, what do you call that dang thing? Catalytic converter. And then goes around the other side, comes up this side over here. I gotta follow up here. There we go. You can see that frame rail right there. And that basically, there's other components to it, but those are the main parts that make up this front stub. So that's what I'm trying to tie into with this, is that front stub area. And then I've got it right underneath this bolt, which is a connection point for this lower A-arm. So that's how I did that. And that's my reasoning. So there we go. Hopefully I didn't make you too dizzy. So I'm gonna set you back up over here, and I'm gonna lower the car back on that jack stand. After I lower it on the jack stand, then I will move the chock at the back. All right, so what I do when I'm putting the car on the jack stand, I lower the jack till all the way to the car is on the jack stand, till the jack falls away from the car just a little bit, half an inch maybe, and then I raise the jack back up until I feel just a little bit of pressure of it trying to push the car up. I don't actually raise the car anymore, I just have it there so that way if it should slip off of the jack stand, something should go wrong, I've got a backup. So that's what I do. I'm gonna move the wheel chock, and then we're gonna take that tire off. We got her all chock-a-roosted. All right. And then if you're new to this, and you get in a situation where you can't get the lug nuts out, which in this case it came right out. But if they get jammed in here, because these lug nuts, they're cheap. They usually have some sort of a steel center with a chrome plated crappy outer, and so that outer piece will actually twist over the top of the steel center, and then it will twist and bind up in your socket. So if that ever happens, gets bound up in your socket, all you do is you turn it parallel with the ground and you drop it or throw it down. And then you pick it up. If it doesn't come out right away, you do it again 2 or 3 times, it should pop right out. So yeah, that's the tip on that. Tip 7,300. I don't know where we're at. All right, moving along. If you're on the side of the road changing a tire, always keep track of your lug nuts. Make sure you put them all right close to each other. If you have to tuck them up under the car or something, definitely do that. Anywhere you can find them easy. And then what I generally will do is once I get the tire put in my safety spot, which I'm going to show you here in a minute, I will set the lug nuts inside the wheel here on this edge. That way I know where they're at. Nothing worse than trying to put a tire back on and you can't find the lug nuts. Or you forgot where you put them, especially after you do a brake job, or maybe something goes wrong and it's 3 days later, 4 days later, you come back and you can't find your nuts. That's never fun. It's never good. Oh, that one got stuck, so I'm gonna drop it, try to pull it. Still won't come out. Throw it down again. Still won't come out. There we go. 3rd time, popped right out. Alright. The wheels usually will bind to your hub a little bit, so you just hit the top until it pops out on the bottom. Then you can grab the whole tire and pull it out. Now, here's the trick. Alright, you ready? You watching? Set it down. Now this one is a nice wheel and I don't want to scratch it up too much, so I try to pivot it on the tire, not on the wheel. But I stick it under the car, just like that. That way, if something should fail and the car follows, it's going to fall on that tire, or on this wheel. Number one, if I'm anywhere close to that, chances are good the car's not going to crush me. And it gives me an opportunity to get out. Number two, that now gives me clearance to get a jack under there to then get the car back up in the air. Or for someone else, bystander or a family member who's in the house or whatever, hears me screaming because the car's on top of me, can come out and get a jack underneath it and get me out. So that's why I do that. Major safety reason. And haven't had to use it yet. It hasn't come into play yet, but one of those, better to have it, not need it, than need it, not have it. So, lug nuts, right down on the concrete. That's great. There we go. All right. Pretty maids all in a row, just lined up right inside here, so I know where they're at. Good to go. Now we have a metal tab right here and a metal tab up here. We have to pop those out. So this one is going to go that way towards the front of the car. This one is going to come straight out towards me. Those will release the brake hose from the brackets that they're in. So that'll let me get to that. All right. Got the handyman secret weapon here. Actually, that's duct tape, but this is the handyman second secret weapon. It's mine anyway. So I always spray it up here, get it around the fitting up here. Now these brake fittings, they are pieces of junk. And it's a 10 millimeter. And I told you the lug nuts were 19 millimeter, right? Yeah, I did. It's a 10 millimeter. Two issues with that. I don't have a 10 millimeter wrench for some reason. I've done lost it. I don't know what happened. The other issue is they will round off so quick, it's not even funny, and especially when they get rusted like this, there's not a whole lot you can do. So, I am going to use the handyman's third secret weapon, or my third secret weapon, and vice grips. Works just as well on these dang brake fittings as any wrench, in my opinion. And actually it works better because I tried the other side, tried to get a wrench on it, but it was really tight, but it was still rounding off. So I used these, and that actually did it quicker, easier, and better than a wrench. So tip number 7,322. All right, just gonna let that PB blaster soak in a little bit and clean up the mess I made on the floor, and then I'll be back. All right, got the floor cleaned up a little bit here. Now, I'm gonna get this thing loosened up before I pull these metal tabs out, because it makes life a lot easier when the brake line stays where you want it. Life is a lot easier when the brake line stays put. Not too tight. Come on. Come on, a little bit more. Oh, that's a little too tight. There we go. There's the magic sauce. There it goes. All right, so when you're doing that, just push on it, kind of gently. So I had it locked like this, and I was just lightly pushing, and then once you hear that pop, you broke it loose. So that's what you're waiting for. You don't want to get cranking on it too hard. As tough as it is, it's still breakable, so reach around here, grab another bite. Oh yeah, it's nice and loose now. See how quick and easy that was with vice grips? It's where brake lines are a pain in the butt. All right, so I got that loosened, but I don't want to take it all the way off yet. I want to get these things off, and I want to loosen it up here. Now I'm gonna grab a drip tray so they don't make a big mess on the floor, because this one hasn't failed yet, so brake fluid is most likely going to come dripping out of this, also out of the caliper. So that's fun. So anywho, yeah, we'll maybe go through a video of how to bleed the brakes too. Super easy. All right, I had trouble finding a drip tray, so I just grabbed a paper towel, one of those nice expensive blue ones, and a set of sockets. Just laid it on there to keep the wind from blowing it around. There we go. All right, now this one you can be nice and gentle with. Actually, don't be gentle with it. Get on it with a hammer or something until it pops out. That's what it looks like when it comes out. Where it's rounded up faces towards me. Where it's rounded up faces towards me and engages with, I don't want to just show you. All right, so the rounded part goes in like this. So remember that when you go to put it back together. All right, this one I'm gonna grab with the vice grips and pull and twist and all that fun stuff at the same time. Hopefully get it out. Vice grips locked on. Twist and pull. Alright, so I get this thing out, I just twist it like this with the vice grips on it, like that. So the rounded part, just like the other one, goes up with the bracket here and the hose piece up on top. So the rounded part goes up against the hose connection. Alright, set those to the side. Alright, and now I can loosen this guy. What size is that? That would be a 12 millimeter. Oh, but darn. Yeah, feel handy dandy. Ratchet. Having kids is fun. Too many Blue's Clues. Now these shouldn't be too tight. These have 170,000 miles on them, and that wasn't very tight. You saw how easy that was, so any tighter than that, be careful. Make sure you got that socket on there all the way. You don't want to round these off for sure. That'd be bad news bears. There we go. Yeah, you can see I'm reaching around here to the bolt that holds the end of the brake line in. I wish that much didn't come out, but it did, and that's just what it is. All right. We definitely had more drip out of this one than I did the other side, so it's definitely not as bad. Not great though. That wasn't as much as I had hoped for from the brake line. Definitely a lot more from the caliper than I wanted. Now before I drop this hose out and pull it out of the bracket, I'm using the bracket to kind of hold it in place while I unscrew the hose portion, unscrew the, whatever you call it, the solid hose from the flexible hose. Oh, this stuff is corroded. Look at that. Nasty. Missed the nasty time. Wipe this sucker off. Try to keep any dirt out of any brake fluid, out of the connector here. Gotta remember, these things get a lot of all your road dust and all the road dust, grime, salt, everything. It all gets all over those, so that's why they corrode so bad. Looks like I might be getting a little delivery here, so might have to stop and come back here for a second. Okay, let's let me pick you up here. All right. There we go. Now I can see. Okay, so the part I'm messing with here. Come on, you hoser. All right. Well, it doesn't want to focus here for me. There we go. All right, it's this piece here. You can see the threads right here. It's hard to differentiate between the threads and the top of the nut here. But oh man, I wish I could get that thing to focus. I'm so sorry this thing won't focus. There, manual mode is beautiful. All right, so, all right, so you can see the top of the brake hose, flexible part right here. That's the solid line, comes down to this nut. You loosen it up, pull it up as far as you can, and then this guy, there we go, pulls out the bottom of the bracket. You just leave this guy hanging. And that's that with that guy. And if you're squeamish at all about getting, you know, your hands dirty or anything like that, this is definitely not the job for you. I got all this nice brake fluid on my hand here. And some grime. And we got lots of brake fluid on the ground here. That's great. All right. Okie dokie. All right, so now this part of it at the bracket here. Yeah, so here, this part on the bracket here, where that hose comes down, curves in, goes through here, comes down, and goes straight down into the caliper. This piece, I'm just gonna push it back and out. See if I can do this. Oh, that sucker's stuck. All right, I'm gonna have to get mean with this one, so give me a second. Let's get... We are fitting to get funky. Right here, yep, there we go. All right, so what I'm gonna do is take the screwdriver, not on the hose, and not on the very front lip of this thing, but up on the, there's a big shoulder on it. Just a little tap, little love tap. Little tappy tap, little taparoo. And there's the hose, out. And if you can see what I can see, this tube up here is dripping quite a bit, and it's dripping more than the hose was. That means that hose is probably starting to close up on me, so it's a good thing I'm replacing it. New hose ski. Now your new hose comes with new washers. They go one on each side of this guy. So one washer on this side, one washer on this side. It does not come with a new bolt. So this bolt here. So there is a washer on it. I'm gonna take it off, put it with the other one. Those are gonna go in the trash or in a bin or something for something else, because they've been compressed, and you don't want to use those already compressed ones. You want these new ones. That's why they come with the kit. And grab me another towel. Okay, got me another towel. I'm gonna take this dealio and just grab it nicely, like I'm trying to unscrew it. That way it's pulling all the dirt off of the threads out the bottom and onto my towel. So you can see there's all the dirt and grime that was on the threads of this guy. So brake fluid is a great cleaner. So if you get up with a bunch of grease and stuff on your hands, you can't get it off, grab some brake fluid. Pour just a little bit on you and scrub it around, it'll come right off. I'm not saying that's safe or what you should do, but it will clean your hands. So, and of course, making me bite stuff. All right, so I'm gonna put one washer on this end of the bolt. The bolt goes through, and the other washer goes on the other side, just like that. And that, that connects to the caliper. It's all right. And I gotta hurry here because I'm dripping like crazy. And on the new one, did I do that right? Oh, there we go. All right, so on these, I don't know if you can see, yeah, there we go. There's a notch right here. See that notch? There we go, you can kind of see it. Barely. Anyway, there's a notch on this side. That lines up with a notch in the bracket. Same thing with this one here. It does have a notch right here. And the notch is on the bottom, so I gotta twist it through to make it line up with that notch. And that will ensure that it's in the right spot. In there correctly. Does not want to cooperate. There we go. Since I've got it lined up. If you have a rubber mallet, you can see this one's been used a lot. In a lot of really heavy, beating something hard. If you have a rubber mallet or a dead blow hammer, those are ideal. This guy goes like this. Come on, line up, you hoser. Oh, come on, you punk. Go this way. Where's the notch? Aha, I found it. Okay, the notch in the bracket is towards the back of the car. So make sure the notch in your hose faces that way as well. I happen to get lucky doing it by feel. There we go. Doesn't take much. As soon as it snaps into place, it's in. And then screw your fitting in. If you notice, if you didn't see, I did line the hose up, the solid hose, into the top of the flexible hose as I was putting the piece into the bracket. All right, and ideally, in an ideal world where you have somebody else here, it's nice to get them in the driver's seat right now and start pushing on the brake pedal before you tighten this, get some brake fluid dripping out here, tighten it down there, after you've tightened that one, of course. That gets any air out of this line and gets you kind of set up to have less air to bleed out. I don't have an ideal world. I don't live in one. And I don't have another person to do that right now because everybody's gone. So, c'est la vie. Story of my life. Anyway, so I actually am going to tighten that fitting up there. I'm gonna pull this back out of the caliper and let gravity do some work for a minute, and hopefully that gets as much air out of that line as I can. And yeah, we'll go from there. So I'm gonna tighten that up now with the old trusty Vasa grips. And definitely don't want to over tighten. Now I got it. All right, so for me right now, I really need to tighten the vice grips all the way till they click. There we go. Because trying to squeeze them and pull at the same time, I'm not getting good feedback on how tight it actually is. So, still don't feel like I am. There we go. Yeah, now I got good feedback. Now I can feel how tight it is. Don't ask me for pound feet, inch pounds, or anything like that. Just go until it's tight. Not over tight, just tight. To where with just a little bit of pressure, it doesn't pull anymore. What that means to you, I don't know. It's arbitrary, but that's how I do it. That's how I roll here. Especially something like this. I mean, as long as you get it tight, it's really a compression fitting in there. So as long as you get it tight, it should seal, yeah, so that's where we're at. And we are dripping here. And if you heard that in the background, that's my ham radio talking to me. Hey, might be some videos on that. Go ahead and leave a comment if you'd like to see some stuff about the ham radio. Ah! Dropping stuff here. Gosh darn it. Booger. Yep, we are dripping from here, which is a good thing. That means gravity is doing its job. That's cross-threading. That's great. Don't you do that to me, you punk. Yes, there we go. We're dripping good from here. That's actually a good thing. Horrible mess. But I don't want to bleed too much air out of the line. All right, there we go. Now, how tight to go? Well, it's a good question. You have to remember we're compressing two squishy washers. So for me, I go pretty tight. What that means, I don't know. I'm probably putting, I'm probably put 45, 50 pound-feet on this. That bolt was fairly narrow thread, so I don't know. fairly, damn it. There we go. So I probably got it a little tight, but I want to make sure those washers get squished like they're supposed to so they seal. But again, like everything else, you don't want to over tighten, you don't want to over squish them. It's kind of by feel, and that's something you can't explain on camera. So good luck. Anyway, so there we go. That is basically what it takes to change that. Now, if I can get a good clean hand here, I'm going to show you what this bolt behind the caliper looks like. All right. Okie dokie. And that doesn't help you any, does it? Sure doesn't. Yeah, there we go. All right. So this bolt goes through right here, and you can see that the brake hose goes straight up. There's actually a bracket right here that you can't see very well, but all right, yep, you can't see it very well. So let me show you. So that bracket on the back of the caliper has two different ways that the hose could go. So it could go up or down. Obviously, in this case, it's coming out and going straight up, right? Well, there's the bracket looks like this, kind of. It's more squared than that, but it basically has an opening at the top and the bottom. And so, actually, it kind of sticks out this way, but there. And your hose goes up through the middle of those pieces that stick out. And like I said, there's some top and bottom, but this one obviously comes out the top. So run it through between those two pieces. If you have it angled this way or this way, you've got it in wrong. You need to have that bar part of the hose, this part in the car like this. So it's this way or this way too far, you're wrong. You need to have it straight up and down between those forks in the bracket. All right, the bracket I'm talking about is built into the back side of the caliper, so you should see it pretty easily. So yeah. All right, so to show you one more time, we got this connection here, goes down through this connection, comes down into the back of the caliper. You can kind of see the top end of that forked piece right here that it goes through. So that is that. The next step now is to bleed the brakes. So I'll go over that here in just a minute. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, when we're going to bleed the brakes, we have to take this little piece off. It just pulls off of here. It's just a little piece of rubber. Just a little rubber cap. Hard to do left-handed for me. All right. So this little rubber cap just fits over the top of that. I'm gonna get a little piece of hose, put it on there so we can bleed the brakes. All right, I've got a crescent wrench up on top of the bleed valve, and I think it's a 10 millimeter. I currently don't have a 10 millimeter, and so I'm just using a crescent wrench. And I've got a bottle with a little bit of brake fluid in it, and I'm going to stick the end of the hose down into the brake fluid so we can see the bubbles. All right. All right, go ahead and push down on the brake pedal. Did you hit the floor? Okay, let off. Okay, push it down again. Good. All right, let off. Okay, crescent wrenches. All right, push. Okay, let off. All right, push. All right, let's move you over here. All right, let's see, how am I gonna do this? Let's see, this is probably gonna be best done. Actually, let's go this angle. Over here. All right. And can we see everything? I don't know. No cotton. No, let's see. That's up there. Nope, can't see it. Sure enough, can't see it. All right. I'm going to loosen this bad boy up. Whoa, that really loosened it. Holy cow. Oh, there she goes, focusing in on it. Yeah. See up there? All right.